Smoking trends from the past few years show many Americans are choosing to quit. But health officials say that's not enough. They're still pushing for a tobacco-free society. KEZI 9 News reporter Cyd Dutcher took an in-depth look at current tobacco trends and has more in a special report.
I was diagnosed with COPD, and I immediately started in pulmonary rehab.
Carol Brittingham Clay smoked cigarettes on and off for 40 years. She quit more than 20 years ago, but the damage had already been done. Now suffering from COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, Carol's had major lung surgery and needs oxygen.
I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't have. I'm serious. I had a pretty low percentage of oxygen moving through my lungs.
For some smokers, it's easy to justify their habit, but as Susan Fanner learned, smoking impacts more than just smokers.
In 1981, I lost a child to cardiopulmonary problems, and when I became a respiratory therapist years later, I just could relate.
In 1964, the U.S. Surgeon General's office released its first report on the dangers of smoking. 40 years later, countless headlines paint a picture of a healthier America, one where smoking is becoming a thing of the past.
In Oregon, we see trends that are really very similar to the rest of the country in terms of tobacco use, both among adults and among kids. We've seen substantial reductions in the tobacco use rate in both of those groups over the past 20 years.
Since 2005, tobacco use in America has been on the decline, but according to Dr. Bruce Gutelius, too many kids and adults still smoke. As Deputy State Epidemiologist for the Oregon Public Health Division, Gutelius studies chronic diseases, patterns, causes, and effects as they relate to the state's overall population, and that includes tobacco use. He says right now, 1 in 5 Oregon adults and 1 in 10 11th graders smoke cigarettes. Compared to 1964, when 42% of American adults were lighting up, it's clear that more people are choosing to quit. So why this push to become tobacco-free?
The bottom line is this is still the leading cause of preventable death in this country, and that applies to Oregon as well. It is the leading cause of preventable death here. We're talking about 7,000 deaths a year from tobacco use in Oregon.
Not to mention the economic impact, the CDC says smoking results in $96 billion in healthcare costs every year. So how do you reach the small amount of people who still choose to smoke?
Making sure that everybody who needs to know about these different aspects of tobacco use is aware of them, that we are engaging communities and getting their investment in this and helping them understand that this is an issue that really significantly impacts their community and that the fight against tobacco use is not over.
Gutelius says there needs to be a comprehensive approach to snuffing out tobacco use. For instance, price. When prices go up, tobacco use goes down. But that's just one of the 4 elements Gutelius' office pays attention to. He says communities also need to focus on tobacco marketing, reducing flavored tobacco products, and increasing smoke-free environments. In Oregon, you can see this effort. Workplaces, restaurants, college campuses, even state parks now smoke-free. Gutelius says if people find fewer places to smoke, it encourages them to kick the habit. That, along with price, those are pretty obvious ways to deter tobacco use. But why marketing?
We know that 70% of kids shop at a convenience store within any given week, so they're going to be widely exposed to the type of marketing that happens.
And flavors?
Flavors are an issue in that they're appealing to kids, and kids use those types of products, those other tobacco products, at about twice the rate adults do. So we know that's a major concern for us, and we want to see that addressed.
Both elements influence kids.
The younger people are when they begin smoking, the more difficult it is for them to quit when they get older. And that goes all the way back to brain development and our innate sense of who we are.
Susan Fanner is a respiratory therapist and the coordinator of the Pulmonary Rehabilitation and Tobacco Cessation at Peace Health Medical Center at Riverbend in Springfield. She and Dr. Gutelius say keeping tobacco products out of the hands of kids is vital. So they're alarmed over the rise of vapor and e-cigarette use, especially among teens. A recent nationwide survey by the CDC found that e-cigarette use among high schoolers tripled in 3 years. Last year, 4.5% of U.S. high schoolers said that they'd used e-cigarettes in the last month. That's up from 1.5% in 2011. Although there is no legal age limit on e-cigarette use in Oregon, the owner here of Emerald Vapors say they only sell to customers who are 18 years or older and that their product is for adult use only. Emerald Vapors owner Colin Rao opened his first location in downtown Eugene in November of 2012. Now, just 2 years later,
we are working on our 6th location right now.
Clearly, the e-cigarette industry is booming. So fast, e-cigarettes haven't been fully studied by the FDA, so consumers don't know the potential risks, how much nicotine or other chemicals are being inhaled, or whether there are any benefits associated with e-cigarettes. For those who are unfamiliar, e-cigarettes are not smoked. They're battery-powered devices with a heating element inside.
The liquid that's on the heating element vaporizes, and when it's inhaled, you absorb the nicotine.
Rao says since the FDA is still researching vapor products, he's careful not to use the words safer or healthy, but he simply calls his product an alternative for those already addicted to nicotine.
They can use it, while they're at work. Some workplaces allow it. They can use it inside their house, in their car. A lot of our customers have chosen to decrease the amount of nicotine that they consume, and a lot of our customers have quit cigarettes entirely.
But Dr. Gutelius says e-cigarettes aren't really helping people quit because many use both, smoking cigarettes when they can and using e-cigarettes where they can't smoke. With this new alternative offering thousands of flavors and creating a new image of tobacco use for kids, Gutelius and Fanner are worried that strides made towards a tobacco-free society could be undone.
Making this seem like smoking behavior is normal, that it's something that happens anywhere, anytime. When we see a generation of kids who are being exposed to that, and for the first time in decades being exposed to advertising on television, certainly raises the concern that we can see some reverses in the progress that we've made over the past several decades.
Yeah, people, especially at that age, you're invincible. It's never going to happen to me. And it does. It just doesn't happen then. It happens later. So yeah, they're right about that. It's not going to happen to me yet. But in 40 years, it may come up and sneak up behind you.
In Springfield, Cyd Dutcher, KEZI 9 News.
November is COPD Awareness Month. Health experts say no matter how long you've been smoking, it's never too late to quit to improve your health.